Right now, on To The Point. A violent sexual predator just months away from his release. We're hearing from one county about their efforts to make sure he doesn't end up there. Meanwhile, a county board of supervisors voted to add a new Heritage Month to the calendar, but not everyone is in favor of the change. And the new impacts of climate change. Now California's winter storms are cutting into the state's iconic coastline.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. A man considered a sexually violent predator by the justice system could soon be set free in Placer County. To The Point senior reporter Becca Habecker spoke with the district attorney about what he is doing to protect the community and how the state chooses where a sexually violent predator should be released.
William Stevenson has a long criminal history dating back to 1985. It includes indecent exposure, sexual assault, and possession of child sexual abuse materials. The criminal justice system has deemed him a sexually violent predator. Stevenson is currently serving time in a state hospital, but ABC 10 has been following this story as a judge decided Stevenson is eligible for conditional release and that it should be in Placer County. Previously, Amador County was under consideration. Now, Placer County District Attorney Morgan Geyer wants to hear from community members.
I am very worried that Mr. Stevenson would reoffend. We look at his ultimate criminal history, the crimes that he committed. Those sex crimes by their very nature have a high degree of recidivism. And then you have to look at someone's performance once they've been released. And we have at least one occasion where he violated the law in terms of his release, requiring him to be recommitted.
Geyer has created an online portal where people living in Placer County can submit a letter opposing Stevenson's release in the community. I spoke with Sacramento attorney Mark Reichel, who is not involved with this case, about how a judge is required to consider community input before deciding where to place a sexually violent predator.
They have to be somewhere out in the community. We just can't have a leper colony somewhere off the coast of California to put everyone. So you can't do that. But the law clearly requires, the input from the district attorney's office, from law enforcement, from the community, from victims as well, before a final answer is given on what we're going to do.
He adds there are ways to keep track of such offenders.
They can have an ankle monitor. They can have constant surveillance.
I asked the DA how the state chooses where a sexually violent predator gets released.
There's always a very careful process, or at least it's supposed to be careful, on the part of both the state and the courts to make sure that the area is suitable. And really what the calculation is what reduces his likelihood to reoffend should he be released. And certainly his ability to access services, supervision, all of those things, as well as what kind of community is he being placed into.
That's why he's asking the community to weigh in.
The location of Stevenson's placement will be addressed during a hearing on September 1st. Now, it's possible he is released that same day, less than a month from now.
I mean, ultimately, who does decide where he'll go?
Yeah, I know the community wants to know that for sure. That decision is up to the Department of State Hospitals. Their contractor, Liberty Healthcare, is tasked with supervising, treating, and monitoring all sexually violent predators on conditional release. That includes substance abuse testing and GPS monitoring.
And for that website where Placer County community members can submit a letter opposing Stevenson's release, we have put a link at abc10.com/links. Becca, thank you so much. All right, other stories we're following tonight. Multiple people are in custody after a member of the Stockton Police Department was shot while investigating a homicide. It happened early this morning. An officer was taken to the hospital, but is expected to be okay. Garjpal Sangha is in Stockton tonight. Garjpal, we know that police have a press conference set up for this tomorrow, but what can you really tell us tonight?
Yeah, good evening, Alex. And right now, the scene was active just a few minutes ago. They're wrapping things up here. This is the area where everything sort of happened, that shooting that impacted that Stockton police officer. Just a few minutes ago, they removed that Stockton PD vehicle that was hit and also that stolen vehicle. So right now, they're in this area of Kent Field and East March Lane, just kind of near the Weberstown Mall, and they're starting to wrap up this scene. So we're told this all started after 3 this morning when police were investigating a carjacking and found that vehicle they were looking for in the Kent Field and East March Lane area. Then a chase began and eventually a person ran from the car. Now we're told that sergeant chasing the person was shot in the chest and the shoulder area and was taken to the hospital, and he is listed under stable condition, but luckily he is expected to survive. But right now investigators tell us they're trying to determine if the people that are in custody that were detained this afternoon are related to the carjacking and shooting.
There were a few people that were detained during the SWAT searches, and as of right now, we don't have any confirming information as far as if they are related to the incident or not. We're looking to further investigate to determine if there is a relation.
And we just received some updated information from Stockton Police just a few minutes ago. We're told a guy by the name of Satwan Benny Savan, who's 20 years of age, of Stockton, has been arrested in connection to the carjacking and attempted murder of the Stockton police sergeant earlier this morning. So we're told he is in custody right now, but right now they're still clearing up this investigation. So the information that we just received is a guy by the name of Satwan Benny Savan, 20 years of age, out of Stockton, has been arrested for everything that happened here early this morning, that carjacking and also that CHP officer who was shot earlier this morning. Alex.
All right, gosh, Paul, thank you so much. Live in Stockton tonight. Again, the new info, Stockton PD says that the suspect is Sathwan Benny Savan, just 20 years old, of Stockton, has been arrested in connection to the carjacking and attempted murder of a Stockton police sergeant. Savan has been booked into the San Joaquin County Jail. It's been a violent 24 hours across our area. Stockton police are now investigating after a 23-year-old man was shot and killed in the city's Weston Ranch neighborhood. It happened on Woodchase Lane near William Long Park. The Stockton Police Department don't have any suspect information as of now, and the department did not exactly say when the shooting happened. Police are now investigating after a man was shot and killed late last night in Citrus Heights. Police say it happened on Sayonara Drive. That's where a man was found in the street with several gunshot wounds. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. And if you know anything about this shooting, make sure that you do reach out to police. Meanwhile, police in Sacramento are investigating a death that happened on Sonoma Avenue in the Hagenwood neighborhood. We don't know much about the investigation, but ABC 10 was on the scene this morning. Police say that a call came in around 5:15. One person was found dead. Police say as of now, it does not seem to be suspicious. The El Dorado County Board of Supervisors recently voted to add a new Heritage Month, and it's being called American Christian Heritage Month. While 4 out of the 5 board members voted in favor of it, many residents at the meeting did not agree.
In a controversial move, the El Dorado County Board of Supervisors recently declared the month of July American Christian Heritage Month in a 4-1 vote.
It was clearly stating, don't forget our history. And we need to remember that we were founded based upon Christian faith. That's all this is.
That's District 1 Supervisor and Board Chairman John Heidel, who brought the proclamation at the July 17th meeting. The only opposing supervisor was Lori Parlin of District 4. Parlin says the board needs to be more thoughtful when creating proclamations and didn't feel this one was necessary.
And I'm going to register a no vote on item 22. I'm very concerned about it.
During public comment, an overwhelming majority of residents voiced their opinions.
I feel that the language in this document does not represent the diverse religions, culture, ethnicities.
My initial feeling when I read it was it just seemed so rude, like a slap across the face, like a total invalidation, especially since this is a predominantly white Christian country.
We're in a spiritual war. When the devil comes in to steal, kill, and destroy, all of us need to wake up. It's not my way. Jesus Christ.
All right, and we reached out to the Greater Sacramento chapter of Freedom from Religion Foundation. They are a nonprofit advocacy group who called the declaration a possible violation of both California and U.S. constitutions, which ensure our governing remains secular. They also said that the board's motive of historical education was, quote, embarrassing.
We're continuing to track our developing weather changes for the weekend. In the meantime, still sitting well below average when the heat returns.
And later, nearly 2 million people were diagnosed with cancer in the United States last year, but treating it is getting more difficult without certain drugs.
We discovered that not only did I have cancer, but I had metastatic cancer, had spread.
We're hearing from a cancer survivor and a doctor about the importance of having the right chemotherapy drugs. The California State Fair wrapped up this past weekend, and the fair's organizers say that they had the busiest closing weekend of any fair since the pandemic. More than 65,000 people attended the fair on Saturday alone. That's roughly the population of Davis, in case you didn't know. And the fair also says that it's the first time that at least one representative from all of the state's 58 counties entered in one of the fair's competitions. A little fun fact there. Yeah.
Super fun.
And we've had a great start to August. I mean, we really can't complain.
I know. I hand it off to anybody that went out to the state fair because it was hot in the month of July, right? But now the weather has turned. It's just the way that things go when it's state fair time, right? All right, temperatures for today topped out right around the mid 80s to near 90 up and down the valley. 82 for Fairfield, 67 for San Francisco, 80s for the foothills, and close to 80 up top for the Sierra. Nice southwest wind continuing to pull in from the Pacific, roughly at about 10 to 25 miles per hour. And that's going to cool us into the evening with clear skies. We're in the 70s by 8 p.m. Shortly after that, sunset 8:15. 70s at 9 p.m. and 60s at 10. Eventually, those lows in the mid to upper 50s. Now, we are going to see that pattern shift for the weekend back to above average temperatures and putting us more in the moderate to major heat risk Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. If you need to do stuff outdoors, just plan for the morning hours. Here comes that big ridge of high pressure. It's going to suppress any thunderstorm action, but the big heat returns for the first weekend of August. Highs in the 70s tomorrow for the Sierra, 80s to near 90 down the hill. We're in the 60s again for the coast. 80s as we start to head inland. We'll take the 80s. It is August after all, and highs could easily be in the 100s. For the mountains, we'll keep things quiet. For the weekend forecast, highs will be in the 70s and 80s, 90s to near 100 for the foothills, and for the coast, we're in the 70s. Our 10-day forecast, we're going to continue to see the warming trend. It starts on Friday, continues through the weekend, but it's rather short-lived because next week, we're right back into the 90s, Alex.
All right, thanks, Monica. When we come back, a sentencing in one of America's deadliest religious mass shootings. Welcome back. There's a cancer drug shortage putting lives on the line. Commonly prescribed drugs for cancer patients, especially for women, are in short supply. And that means that doctors have to reduce doses of chemotherapy or delay treatment altogether. Our Laura Painter sat down with a cancer patient to better understand not only what this shortage means to their survival, but also what it says about how we get our life-saving medicine.
Ready? Which one?
Marie Kennedy, a communication specialist in Natomas, has been active her whole life.
That's the Italian village that we skied to.
But that was suddenly put on pause.
I had just been on a 9-day river rafting trip down the Colorado River. And I got home and I was feeling pretty tired, but I didn't think anything about it.
And her tiredness didn't go away, so she went to the doctor, who ran several tests that changed her life.
We discovered that not only did I have cancer, but I had metastatic cancer, had spread. I had it in my stomach, I had it in my lungs, I had it in my ovaries.
Did you have any fears that the chemo wouldn't do its job?
My only fear was not to be there and see my kids continue to become the wonderful people that they are.
Thankfully, Marie's body responded well to chemotherapy, the standard of care for hundreds of thousands of cancer patients. But now that treatment is threatened because of a shortage of more than a dozen common cancer drugs, including cisplatin, one of the drugs Marie used, and carboplatin. They're used to treat a wide range of common cancers, including cervical, breast, and lung cancers.
These drugs became what we call frontline or first line because it gives that individual the best chance to have a positive outcome.
The National Cancer Institute says cisplatin and similar drugs are prescribed to up to 20% of all cancer patients.
And why now? Why are we facing this now? How did this come about?
And the common theme is that these are the generics. There is a less of an interest in manufacturing them and a difficulty in creating a business model that will support the cost of these low-cost generic life-saving drugs.
Not only is it an economic issue, it's also a supply chain issue and a communication issue. Some of the challenges are the U.S. drug market is so large. Also, the aging population's increasing the demand for such drugs. And in India, one of the world's largest raw materials manufacturers for these drugs has temporarily stopped production. To boost supply during the shortage, the FDA is temporarily allowing imports of cisplatin and will, quote, very carefully assess the overseas product for quality, making sure it's safe for U.S. patients and is aware that orders may have been placed and products should be arriving soon.
It's very critical to recovery. I don't know what would have happened to me if they wouldn't be able to give me that standard of care.
Sutter Health and Kaiser tell ABC 10 that they are working on finding other ways to treat cancer. Meanwhile, Pfizer says that they are not having a shortage of chemotherapy drugs. This is the scene from outside the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, just minutes after the deadliest anti-Semitic mass shooting in American history. In October of 2018, Robert Bowers fired into the building, killing 11 worshipers and injuring 2 more. He also injured 5 officers. And today, a jury decided the shooter's fate. That same jury that just weeks ago convicted him on 63 criminal counts. The jury unanimously recommended a death sentence for Bowers, and family members of victims and survivors spoke after the ruling from the same briefing room where they were told about the loss of their loved ones, many expressing gratitude and relief.
I especially want to thank the prosecution team for their steadfast focus on this capital crime as an anti-Semitic act. For the final verdict in this case, I feel relief. And the jury sat through months of horror and delivered justice to my mom and everyone that was killed and everyone injured and everyone beyond.
It's the first time capital punishment has been imposed during Joe Biden's presidency. During an active shooter situation in schools, we rely on teachers and staff to stay calm and call 911. And now a new school in Vacaville is making all of that possible with just a push of a button. That's the story that we're working on for tomorrow.
We begin tonight with the deadly shooting at Michigan State.
A shooting at a high school shooting.
A deadly massacre.
We all know what that feels like when you're watching something on TV and you see parents crying and you see students crying, and we don't want that to happen. So we allow that emotion to spur us forward to say, okay, what can we do? Each of our workshop spaces have panic buttons.
On our phones, we can literally push active intruder. We have the cameras with the license plate readers. We're capturing everyone's license plate that comes through here. It's all done through the artificial intelligence.
The money that we spend is nothing in comparison to what it could do in the future.
Tomorrow night, I'll take you inside the brand new school and show you that new technology, and also introduce you to the co-founders who are also parents just trying to keep their kids safe. All right, finally, we are looking into small impacts of climate change that over time can make a really big difference here in our state. Finally tonight, a new study has found that climate change may speed up how fast our coastline is eroding because of larger waves. ABC 10 meteorologist Brendan Minchef explains.
It seems to coincide quite well with the upward trend in anomalous global warming that began around 1970.
Peter Bromirski is a retired research oceanographer who has studied ocean waves and storm activity for decades. He even pioneered the unique but scientifically accepted way to measure wave activity prior to 1970 by utilizing UC Berkeley's extensive seismic records.
There were about twice as many storms in a 2-decade interval, recent one, compared with a 2-decade interval prior to 1970. There's been an intensification of the Aleutian Low, and the Aleutian Low is associated with strong storm activity. Those strong storms generate waves.
Bromirski found that the average winter wave height in California after 1970 has increased by about a foot compared to pre-1970 wave heights. Additionally, the number of storms producing 13-foot waves has nearly doubled in the last 20 years compared to the mid-1900s.
In the summertime, you have sands deposited on the beaches, so you have accretion. And in the wintertime, you have erosion of those beach sands. It's coastal impacts. You increase the wave heights combined with rising sea levels, there's going to be more energy reaching sea cliffs.
It's just another way a changing climate is impacting the Golden State.
When we talk about climate, we talk about changes over time. And there's a lot of variability. You have to keep in mind the time frame. You can't see climate change from year to year. All you can see is interannual variability. You have to look at, decadal changes in order to really see what climate is doing.
And that was our Brendan Minchef reporting. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. As always, if there's something that you think me and my team should be looking into, please reach out to us. You can always text us at 916-321-3310, or you can send us an email to thepoint@abc10.com. Have a great night. I'll see you later. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.